want to thank my beautiful wife. I would have never changed my life without you. I'd have ended up dead or in jail. I'd have killed myself if it wasn't for you and Jesus. I thank you for that.
This is the story of how a man stood on the Grammy stage in February 2026, told his wife she saved his life, and then 4 months later walked into a courthouse and filed for divorce. Jelly Roll, real name Jason Bradley DeFord, filed for divorce from Bunnie XO, real name Elisa Andrea DeFord, on May 18, 2026 in Williamson County, Tennessee. And what Bunnie just revealed on her podcast about how this went down is one of the wildest celebrity divorce stories I have ever seen. Now, before we get into this, let me correct something real quick. A lot of people online have been saying Bunnie filed. She didn't. Jelly Roll filed. He's the plaintiff, she's the defendant. And she went on record on her Dumb Blonde podcast on June 18th and said, and I quote, "Was I blindsided? Was this divorce mutual? No, it was not mutual. So whatever version of this story y'all been hearing, throw it away, because the real version is messier, sadder, and somehow more unhinged than anything the internet made up. And get this, even though the divorce papers have been filed, they are still having a baby together via surrogate. After filing, I promise I'm going to explain that. But first, we need to talk about what actually happened on Mother's Day weekend.
On her Dumb Blonde podcast, Bunnie devoting an entire episode to their split.
I was so fed up and so tired that I just looked at him and I said, well, then file the divorce papers. And I ended up leaving. I packed a bag and I left. It was not mutual. Even though I told him to file the divorce papers, I was speaking out of anger and just frustration.
On May 9th, 2026, the day before Mother's Day, Jelly Roll and Bunnie had a fight. Bunnie laid this out herself on the June 18th episode of Dumb Blonde. She said, "On Mother's Day, we had a little bit of an argument. I was so fed up and so tired that I just looked at him and said, well, then file the divorce papers." And then she added, "That is the one cardinal thing you don't say." She packed a bag. She left the house. She didn't speak to him for weeks. And 8 days later, on May 18th, Jelly Roll walked into a Williamson County courthouse and did exactly what she told him to do. He filed. Grounds listed: irreconcilable differences. The attorney he hired? Rose Palermo of Cheatham and Palermo in Nashville, the same lawyer who has represented Kelsey Ballerini, Winona Judd, and Tracy Lawrence. Baby, this man did not hesitate. She told him to file, and he filed. With a country music divorce specialist. Be for real. Who actually does that? And here's the part that broke me. Bunnie also said on that episode, "I always loved my husband a little bit more than he loved me. He's the runner, I'm the chaser." The man who stood on the Grammy stage in February and said, "I'd have ended up dead or in jail. I'd have killed myself if it wasn't for you and Jesus." She's calling that man the runner. Make it make sense. TMZ broke the story on June 15th after pulling the public court records. A moving truck was photographed outside their Tennessee home around the same time. The filing was classified as divorce, no children, because they don't have biological children together. Jelly Roll's daughter Bailey Ann had just turned 18 on May 22nd, so she wasn't factored into the filing, and his son Noah's custody is shared with Noah's mother, so legally, it was clean. Emotionally, that's a different story. Now, remember what I said about them still having a baby? Well, I wasn't just saying that for giggles.
Behind the scenes, I've never talked about this, but Jay and I have lost 4 embryos. We've had 3 transfers, but we lost the 2 twins that we were gonna try to have, and then we lost the other 2.
On that same June 18th podcast, Bunnie dropped this: "We're still having a baby together. We're going to co-parent together. We have been the most unconventional couple that you guys have ever encountered. Y'all, they've been trying to have a baby since October 2019. Bunnie can't carry a child due to blocked fallopian tubes, so they've been doing IVF. They secured a surrogate. They were hoping for twins. And over the course of this relationship, they lost 4 embryos. 4. And even with the divorce filed, that surrogate plan is still on." Now, I need y'all to sit with that for a second. 2 people who can't stay married are still bringing a child into this world together via surrogate. That's either the most evolved thing I've ever seen or the most chaotic. There is no in between. And to add insult to injury, the settlement is apparently already basically done. Bunnie said they wrapped the whole thing up in 2 to 3 weeks and apparently stunned their own lawyers doing it. Per Men's Journal on June 22nd, Bunnie is keeping the 500-acre Tennessee compound, the property they reportedly bought in 2024, for around $5 million. 3 houses on the land, the Scottish Highland cows, the miniature horses, the donkeys, pigs, goats, sheep, chickens, all of it. She gets the dream house. He gets to start over. Baby, that's not a divorce settlement. That's a farewell gift. He paid her in real estate for the decade.
I wasn't going to talk about this tonight, but me and my wife are best friends. We will always be best friends. We just got off the phone earlier today. Nobody cheated on nobody. She just did a whole podcast about it. You can go watch it. Every word of it is the truth. That will be my best friend forever. This is the only time I will ever speak about it. Bunnie, I love you, baby. Thank you for those 10 years. They were incredible. Thank you for the next 10 years of friendship and 20 beyond that. With that being said, cheers, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Now Jelly Roll didn't stay quiet either. The same day Bunnie dropped that podcast, June 18th, he addressed the divorce from his concert stage in Saratoga Springs, New York, his Little Ass Shed tour. He told the crowd, "I wasn't going to talk about this tonight. The internet is a liar. Me and my wife are best friends. We will always be best friends. Nobody cheated on nobody. She just did a whole podcast about it." And he thanked her for those 10 years. They were incredible. He also posted a YouTube vlog, his divorce vlog, where he literally called Bunnie on the phone to point fans to her podcast. And they were joking. She said something like, "Y'all thought we were gonna hate each other. Plot twist." Now what's interesting about all this is the fact that he said nobody cheated. And for this divorce, that appears to be true. Both of them said it. But if y'all remember, back in October 2025, Jelly Roll went on the Human School podcast and admitted that he had an affair on Bunnie around 2018, about 2 years into the marriage. He called it one of the worst moments of my adulthood. He said he blamed the crowd he was running with and the substances he was using at the time. Bunnie moved back to Las Vegas. They separated for about 3 months before he got her back. So the cheating history, it's there, just not this time around. And as if that wasn't enough, the internet decided to run with 2 wild rumors after the filing went public. Rumor number 1, that Bunnie left Jelly Roll for Chad Kroeger of Nickelback. Rumor number 2, that she wanted to go back to the adult entertainment industry. Now I'm gonna give it to y'all straight. Bunnie shut the Chad Kroeger thing down immediately. On her June 26th podcast episode, she said, "I am not with Daddy Chatty. I did not cheat on my husband and leave him for Chad." She said Daddy Chatty was a backstage inside joke from a 2025 Vegas show, and she even apologized to Kroeger and Nickelback. She said, "I am so sorry to Chad and Nickelback for this happening. It's embarrassing." And the adult entertainment rumor, that came from one anonymous source on a gossip Substack newsletter. One source, no name attached, no confirmation from either party. So we are not running with that as fact. No shade, but a rumor is a rumor. So if it wasn't cheating, and it wasn't Chad, and it wasn't her going back to her old career, what actually broke this marriage? Because to understand why this one hurts differently, you have to understand where these two started. They met in August 2015 at the Las Vegas Country Saloon. Jelly Roll was opening for the Moonshine Bandits. He was broke. He was living in a van. Bunnie was working as a high-end escort in Vegas with her own money and her own life. And she has said that when she saw him, her soul went, "There you are." She bankrolled his career. She invested in his 2017 Addiction Kills album. She helped him win full custody of his daughter Leanne in 2017, a daughter whose biological mother struggled with addiction. Bunnie became the only consistent mother figure that girl ever had. They got married on August 31st, 2016, at a little white wedding chapel in Las Vegas. They renewed their vows at the same chapel in 2023, and then fast forward to February 1st, 2026. Jelly Roll won 3 Grammys in a single night: Best Contemporary Country Album for Beautifully Broken, Best Country Duo Performance for Amen with Shabuzi, Best Contemporary Christian Music Performance for Hard Fought Hallelujah with Brandon Lake. 3 in one night. He went from sleeping in a van to winning Grammys because that woman believed in him when nobody else did, and she was leveling up too. In February 2026, her memoir, Stripped Down, Unfiltered and Unapologetic, dropped through Day Street Books. 101 Studios, the company behind Yellowstone, picked up the film and TV rights. Her podcast, Dumb Blonde, was pulling massive numbers. She has over 8 million followers on TikTok alone. Her net worth was reportedly around $7 million per celebrity net worth. In March 2026, she got a facelift. She was upgrading everything. And then Mother's Day happened. And in 3 months, the woman who built her entire identity around being Jelly Roll's wife was no longer Jelly Roll's wife. She told her podcast, "We stopped communicating together in the past year and a half." She said she's lost 15 pounds since the filing. She started hormone replacement therapy. She started counseling. And when fans flooded her DMs after the news broke, she said she'd been getting messages from verified accounts, blue checks. She said on June 26th, "I'm just not ready. I feel like I have so much to work on with myself that I just have nothing to offer anybody." And she asked anyone reaching out not to mention her ex, and she said he's already dating. She told her audience he's even started dating, which is great. His DMs are open. Go to his Instagram and go send that man a DM. She said he needs a really sweet girl who is normal and isn't trying to be an influencer, the complete opposite of me. And then there's Leanne. Remember what I said about about Jelly Roll's daughter, the one Bunnie helped him win custody of back in 2017? That girl turned 18 on May 22nd, 4 days after her dad filed for divorce. On June 16th, Bailey posted, "I am disgusted at how invested everyone is in a very clearly private family matter. Go on somewhere, y'all. Worry about your house, not mine. I'm not speaking on it yet." And Bunnie revealed on her podcast that Bailey briefly unfollowed her on Instagram. She said Bailey is mad at both of them because Bunnie has been the only consistent mother figure that girl has ever had. And that right there is the casualty nobody's talking about, because Bunnie didn't just lose a husband. She might be losing the daughter she helped raise. So let me give it to y'all straight. There was no team leak. Nobody exposed anything behind closed doors. The filing came from public court records. Both Jelly Roll and Bunnie have spoken openly. She on her podcast, he from his stage, and his YouTube vlog. And what actually happened is simpler and sadder than any of the rumors. Two people who loved each other stopped communicating. One fight on Mother's Day tore it open. And instead of fighting for the marriage, he called the lawyer. But here's what's wild about this whole thing. They're not enemies. They settled in 3 weeks. He's giving her the entire compound. They're still going through with the baby via surrogate. He pointed fans to her podcast on camera, and she called him her best friend. Bunnie said it herself. "My husband and I are ending this marriage on the best possible terms that you could ever have a divorce." And she also said, "Nobody cheated on the other person. Jay is my best friend." And people online have thoughts. One person said, "Bunnie XO is rewriting the divorce playbook and the internet can't look away." Another said, "Imagine being so secure in your love that you can divorce your husband and still have his baby. And the divorce isn't even final yet. Tennessee requires a 60-day waiting period when there are no children involved. So the earliest this can be officially signed off, mid-July 2026, which means between now and then, anything could happen." At the end of the day, this isn't a story about a marriage that failed because of a scandal. It's a story about two people who stopped talking. She said, "File the papers," and he did. Whether you respect how they're handling it, or whether you think it's the most chaotic divorce you've ever seen, that's on y'all. But this is going to be the breakup we're all talking about for the rest of 2026. So what do you think actually broke Jelly Roll and Bunnie's marriage? Was it the IVF stress, the communication breakdown, or was it just two people who grew up and grew apart? And do you think they'll actually go through with having this baby together, or do you see a reconciliation coming before the 60 days are up? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.